Good morning or good afternoon, good evening, everyone. Thanks for joining this. Today, I'm joined by two great EUC technologists coming out of Central Europe. We have Jens Hennig and Reinhard Partmann, who have recently started up their own brand new thing. Um, and they're going to be talking about, I think this is a topic that a lot of VMware focused EUC people have been wondering about since Omnissa has kind of split off or been spun out of Broadcom. So, Jens and Reinhard, thank you for joining us today, and I'm going to let you guys take it away.
Thanks, Sean. Thank you. Welcome everyone. Yeah, we are broadcasting here live today from the Daily Bugle office in Vienna, Austria. Yeah, fun fact, yeah, exactly where Proxmox is coming from. So many people asked us before, Jens, Reinhard, there's a new villain in town. Yeah. Can you talk about it? Yeah. Can we see how it performs against vSphere? And of course you can. Yeah. So we have run intensive investigation. Yeah. And yeah, we want to present you today the results. So let me introduce myself first. My name is Jens Hennig. I'm an Omnissa Tech Insider. I hold several Omnissa and previously VMware certifications as well as actual VMware presentations certifications. If you simply want to know more, just have a look at my LinkedIn page. And with me today is the amazing Reinhard Partmann.
Hi guys, Reinhard Partmann, also Omnissa Tech Insider. Again, also long history with EUC and VMware certifications, trainer, and you can find a little bit more of those details on the LinkedIn page shown on the slide.
Perfect. Thank you, Reinhard. So, first of all, small disclaimer. Yeah, today it's a very hot topic. Yeah, as Sean already mentioned. Yeah, so we're talking about Proxmox versus VMware. Yeah, we don't want to put in any religion. Yeah, we just want to use pure facts. Yeah, so it's not something like Apple versus Google or Android. It's not like Spider-Man versus New Spider-Man versus Amazing Spider-Man, whatever. Yeah, nothing of this at all. Yeah, we just want to run our tests and see how the test performs. Yeah, so no, fanboy whatever in here. Yeah, so therefore that is a very important fact. But now, stepping into the ring.
Okay.
In one corner, we have a platform that's been dominating the data center for years. It's battle tested, enterprise proven, deeply integrated into the VDI ecosystem. Let's welcome VMware vSphere. Applause. So VMware is not only just a hypervisor, it's a full ecosystem, as you probably know. It's tightly integrated with VMware Horizon, which means Omnissa Horizon, optimized resource scheduling, major GPU utilization, and deep visibility into user sessions. It has some strengths. So strengths is it has an optimized CPU scheduler. Yeah, we have an advanced memory management like ballooning, compression, memory tiering nowadays. Yeah, and it has predictable performance even under heavy load. So many of you guys are using this one in the enterprise. But every superhero has a weakness. Yeah, and in this case, we need to talk about licensing complexity, the higher costs, and less flexibility compared to open platforms. So the question is not whether vSphere is strong. The real question is, how does it perform when it has a real contender like Proxmox? So let's welcome, in the ring, Proxmox. Proxmox, takes it a little bit differently. It's built on an open technology like KVM and Linux, and it combines virtualization, storage, clustering into a single unified platform without licensing overhead. So it has definitely its strengths. So when it comes to performance, Proxmox can absolutely hold its own. So we will see that potentially later on in our tests. So it has near bare metal performance with KVM, strong storage flexibility, especially with Ceph, we're not testing this one today. Yeah, so this is not a theft test. Yeah, so that's definitely, yeah, for everyone here. We're testing VDI performance, right? And yeah, full control over tuning and optimization. So, it's kind of basically open source, so you can do almost everything you want to do with it. Yeah, if you're able to do it. With that, yeah, and being a challenger, yeah, this comes with its own challenges. Yeah, so you potentially need more hands-on expertise. You need to have deeper Linux knowledge, and yeah, carefully when we talk about tuning and so on, and you need to tweak a little bit to get to its full potential. So let's put them to the test and see who really delivers what the users want to see when they log in. A short overview again. Yeah, so this is what we potentially expect to see, yeah, when it comes to this fight. So we see, the vSphere side, yeah, consistent, optimized, predictable, yeah, it's a long history with Omniverse Horizon, yeah, and so on, yeah. On the other hand, we see Proxmox, yeah, it's more generic, yeah, performance also good, yeah, needs some more tuning, yeah, user experience. Yeah, we actually don't really know because we haven't been running VDI workloads so often on Proxmox, yeah, and it's highly flexible and so on. So we will see stability versus flexibility, cost versus convenience. Who will win depends on your universe. Before we will really go into the ring, yeah, some performance metrics, yeah, because under pressure some systems swing, others stumble. Let's have a look. So which metrics are interesting and which of these interesting ones did we cover? That's a different story, right? So interesting metrics are, session latency, frame rate, frame drops, lock-in time, and so on. We didn't test that, yeah, simply because we didn't have the test rig available, and it's sometimes really hard to test these kind of stuff. But what we did test, yeah, is application launch time, CPU memory performance, disk I/O, disk read and write. User profile load, we have large and small ones. White noise, Reinhard's going to talk about this one. GDI graphics score, profile scores, and so on and so on. So I think we've done quite a lot of these metrics who are interesting, and hopefully, we picked the interesting ones for you as well. Remember, if it feels slow, it is slow, no matter what the charts say. Yeah. So yeah, let's get ready to rumble. Let's have a look at our test setup. Yeah, so we try to build everything in a way that it is comparable. Yeah, and
Correct.
Let's have a look what we have in our lab. Yeah, where what we call the ring as well. Yeah, so our base system is a super micro system. Many of you guys know it. It's a little bit older. Yeah, many use it as a home lab. We have Intel CPUs in it, 8 CPUs. We have 128 gig RAM. We're using for both platforms local NVMe, and we have a NVIDIA Tesla P4 in it. It's a little bit older, but that's what we had in our lab, unfortunately. And this came with some small challenges, but Reinhard will cover these ones later on when we come to the test results. From a software perspective, we try to use the latest and greatest. Yeah, Proxmox in version 9.1.5, vSphere 8, update 3E. We haven't tested vSphere 9. That's up for a later test, but vSphere 8 was a easier way, especially concerning which hardware we are currently using. On top of that, we try to figure out the VDI performance. We're using Horizon in the latest and greatest release, 2603. We have a virtual machine on both machines. Yeah, it's a similar one. We're using Windows 11, 25H2. We have a default OSAT profile running it, so slightly optimized because that is what you would do in a real world anyway. No one is using vanilla Windows. We have a client PC where we, where we connect to our VDI. We have a recording PC, and everything was tested with a full HD resolution. And we're using a software called EUC score. Later, more on this one. So how does the test setup really look like? We have our two contenders, Proxmox on one server. We have our ESXi on the other server. We have a connection server in the middle. So it's running on a different platform. So we are really using purely the hypervisor with one single virtual machine. So to have comparable performance. And then we have Horizon test client computer, so a real computer running the Horizon client. It is connected, the video output is connected to a capture card, which is basically like a camera, like a recording, and we're recording it on a recording PC. Yeah. And in order to be able to control this Omnissa Horizon client, we have a KVM in there as well. So that basically we have a control station, remote control station, where we can run all the tests, where we can access our recording PC, and we can start whatever simulation we want to run inside our environment. Now, do you want to hear how the test results ended, or how they started actually? I hand over to Professor Reinhard.
Okay, guys. So first of all of those tests, we didn't invent them. We simply thought and said, hey, we know a guy, and his name is Benny Tritsch. And we used his EUC score toolset. So basically, so that we also have comparable tests to run our sim loads. So thanks to Benny on this one. So we have two basically trains, no vGPU and the vGPU. We ran all of those tests in the same order on the respective hypervisor so that they are comparable. So let's go. What did we test? So if you see EXX or PXX, that simply means there is no graphics card in it, and we ran a couple of tests. So out of those tests, there are even more in Benny's
Test
suite, and we run those because we were talking back and forth with Benny, and then we thought, okay, and we present a couple of them because otherwise we would take way too much time, right? So let's get into that. So the first test actually is a 3D test running on a system, on two systems actually, which have no 3D or vGPU card. And as you can see, CPU is spiking to the maximum, and all of the other parameters are more or less the same. However,
important to notice, the red one is Proxmox.
On the right side,
yellow one
is ESXi. And also the graphs, red Proxmox, yellow ESXi, correct, Jens. So as you can see, on average, or even the other metrics are the same. CPU maxed out. Well, was expectable. And to be honest, yes, the experience is not good because if you look at the frame rates, 1 or 2 frames on both sides. So they are par. Okay, next test is a video running in a browser. Again, GDI test, the car visualizer sim load. They start and then they max out the CPU. Yeah, there are some context switches which are a little bit further or later. Again, also the disk I/O spikes are a little bit later or further because those virtual machines are run on 2 different hypervisors, and you guys know it. Windows doesn't also behave the same if you run a test 7 times. So, there is caching involved and stuff like that. Again, on par. Then this is a video conf sim load, basically running 6 videos side by side. And again, what do we see? It's again super similar. Who expected that? Did you expect that?
No, definitely not.
Okay, and now we are going to SL3 sim loads. They give us an EUC score value. Lower is better. Okay, GDI Plus basically means even super old graphics cards can do that. However, we push it to the limits and then we start the tests. And what do we actually see? Basically, what this test does, it draws a lot of rectangles, triangles, lines, whatever, and it throws them out as far as it can. So what do we see? We see on the ESXi side a value of 14 point something and 9.6 on the Proxmox side. I said lower is better.
Yeah.
Interesting. No graphics card. Okay, so we have the DDI graphics on vSphere and the VirtIO on the right side on Proxmox. Again, as you can see on the graphs, they are on the same. Okay, now we do IOPS. Raw IOPS, more or less. Again, we get a value back. And on this case, you see that ESXi spikes way higher with the CPU. It also has more disk writes. Therefore, also a higher performance. We see on the ESXi side 2.38 versus 7.7 on the Proxmox side. So here we see the proven one, our ESXi. We work both with ESXi and vSphere for a long time, and as of many of you, seeing outperforming Proxmox.
Okay, but fair enough to say, yeah, we didn't do any optimization on the Proxmox side. So we're using just the standard drivers, as you would do it if you have no deeper clue about Proxmox. Yeah. So are there potentially tweaks to fix that? Definitely, yeah. But we wanted to give you, untweaked overview, yeah, how this would look like in a normal standard way.
Yeah, both system actually.
Yes,
Vanilla.
exactly.
And then it was a next installation, more or less. So next of those stress tests, sim loads, is an artificial user profile large test. We have user profile large and small. And basically, it's again an I/O kind of test. And basically, what this test is doing, it creates an array in the memory, 50 strings, 60 characters, 600 characters, sorry, and then it takes out randomly those strings and writes it to 20 files around about 15,000 lines, and boom, there we go. So what do we get as a result? This is a more real world test.
Exactly.
And we see a ESXi value 14.8 and on the Proxmox side 10.3.
Shocking. Yeah.
Because I thought, well, let's be honest, the storage system of ESXi, it's proven, right? And we did not expect that value. And if you look at the values, CPU is more or less the same. However, Proxmox gets more continuous writes and also can drive, in this case, a little bit higher IOPS.
And especially when you look at the previous slide where, actually, we had a slight difference.
It's a little bit contradicting, yes.
Exactly. Yeah.
Let's be honest, we need to dive into the values way more deeper to understand it. But again, those values are only seen out. So, well, they come out of the virtual desktop. So we don't have values really comparing performance counters from Proxmox, from ESXi, correlate them together, and then do a way deeper statistical analysis. Profile small. Again, same picture, higher IOPS, higher throughput, same CPU. So that tells a good story that on the real world scenario, Proxmox can handle I/O very well. However, yes, we are doing a baselining test here, which basically says we have one VM here and one VM on the other side. We don't have noisy neighbor tests yet. We will look into that in the future. Again, roughly 6.2 at the vSphere side, 4 point something on the Proxmox side. Right? So white noise test. That's a cool test. Benny told me that because it's basically a test which draws randomly on the screen a pixel. Yes. How do remoting protocols work? They try to find a rectangle, compress it, and send it over. Yeah, that is bad news for any remoting protocol. And again, it's interesting that we find 128 on the ESXi side, 85, lower is better on the Proxmox side. I really did not expect that. And if you look at the charts, CPU, basically same line, context switches, same line. Yeah, the IOPS, a little bit left, a little bit right. But on average, if you look on the spikes on the lowest line, the average is about the same.
And just saying, you just said a very good word. This one is for testing remoting protocol. Yeah, we only tested Blast. Yeah, because we are testing here the performance against Omnissa. Yeah, and this is Omnissa's default protocol, so we didn't care what anyone or anything else, right? So therefore, to have a good comparison.
Even within Omnissa, where we would have some choice, we didn't choose. So here we have a small overview about the test, and we also did the application start. We don't have it in the slides, but we have the whole test scenario, and you can see 0.79 to 0.72. It's again in the same ballpark.
So yeah, it's It was kind of shocking, yeah, because we did expect something like a huge winner, a huge loser, whatever. But to be honest, yeah,
It's a close fight.
it's a very close fight. Yeah, it's really similar performance, right? If one is one test, one is a little bit ahead and one is a little bit below, whatever. We don't mind, we don't care. This could potentially under heavy load, make a huge difference or not. We don't know, but it's so far we say it's very close.
Yeah. And well, with many virtual machines, we will see. We don't know that
Exactly.
either. So now we throw in a vGPU into the whole fight. It is not a real fair fight. Why? Well, our P4 is quite old. We didn't order a new one yet. And the P4 was not ready for vGPU on Proxmox. It was actually already not supported back at that point in time. But we tried to do some tests and we did not have enough time to do the pass-through test on both platforms. So Proxmox is pass-through, ESXi is vGPU. However, we will do this test again with pass-through on both platforms. Basically, we only need to do it on ESXi again, and then we have better comparable numbers.
But we cannot do the vGPU test on Proxmox, as you said, because we tried, but it's not supported. Yeah, it's too old drivers and so on. Yeah, but we have some potentially good news for you guys later on.
At the end, yes, that's okay. Where the things explode. Yes, that was my patience. Okay, so ENV versus PNV. ESXi plus NVIDIA, Proxmox plus NVIDIA. Let's go. So again, same test runs. And what do we see here? Okay, we see around 50 frames on the ESXi host and stunning 1700 whatever frames on the right side. Yes, we give him a full graphics card. I said it's unfair. However, yeah, it cannot transcode everything. So you see a way higher CPU load on Proxmox. Then we will have something to check against ESXi in our next tests because it's way more data he needs to handle. Yeah, therefore also more context switches, blah, 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 and stuff going on. Rest, this guy, more or less again the same. However, both were moving fluidly compared with no vGPU because this was like a robot dance. Okay, again, here, the SL1 car visualizer simload. CPU heavy, runs way better than with no vGPU, way better. But if you look at the CPU, you think, why is this so high? Again, and on both platforms, it's GDI. GDI is still CPU heavy. We have some other GPU tests with GDI, and they spike and give us higher loads. If we look here at the SL1 video conference test, again, this is a more of feeling test. How does it feel? How does it look? We have the data in the other web, but it doesn't give us a result value. Right, so you see CPU is more or less the same. This guy, there is nothing much going on. Why? Because it's yeah, it's a video stream, right? So GDI plus graphics. Again, same scores, SL3 test. And here we have now again, because of the unfairness, 12 point something to 9.3, but it's not so far away. Again, and the rest is in the same ballpark. Jens.
No, that's fine. So it's just want to say that is actually really again a shocker because actually I was expecting that Proxmox performs way better, yeah, in this case, yeah, because there's a full graphic card. But to be fair, VMware has a long history with NVIDIA, and so we were expecting some kind of tweaks, other ones don't have. So therefore, that's why we have that's close numbers.
So again, we did the IOPS test. You see, as in the other test with the non-graphics cards, because the graphics card might have the impact, but drivers, they can behave and not behave. Again, ESXi, higher CPU, higher throughput against lower CPU on the Proxmox side, lower throughput, also not this high sustainable writes, and we see big difference here. 2.58 versus 9.17. So Proxmox is here, like in the last test, not as strong. With the simload user profile large and user profile small, again, I/O, but we said we do all of the tests the same way. We see again here more continuous writes on the Proxmox side. So again, it's a pro for Proxmox 14.85 versus 10.42 in the EUC score values. And again, here with the small profile synthetic test, 6.21 versus, well, roughly 4. Again, the white noise test. Thing is, it's more going towards the display protocol blast in that case, so it's not a real strong 3D test. However, again, we see here 113 versus 84 roundabout, and again, all of the other values more or less in the same ballpark. CPU is very, very similar, right? And the disk IOs, yes, that's when Windows thinks I should write something. So again, the test results also with the app started in the first line, that's basically the same, right? And now we switch back to Jens, who is doing the summary.
Yes, thanks, Reinhard. So, why did we do this? Yeah, and what is the result, and how can we, what can you take away from our measurements? That's the most important part. Yeah, so because we're not doing this, okay, we do a little bit for us as well, but we're doing this for you, for the community as well, to have an idea, what to do, and when you need to plan new hardware, whatever, what should I choose and what should I pick? So our result is it's a draw, right? Huge but. Yeah,
very huge.
Very huge one. So first of all, this was run on our test setup, as we said. So it's not the latest and greatest hardware, first of all. Secondly, it was just a single bit machine. So it could be under dense condition, it could be completely different. So what we're doing is basically just a baselining of this of the hypervisors and all the application performance and VDI performance. And on top of that, if you think, hey, that's great, so take my money and give me Proxmox. Okay, good, good approach, but you have to know when it comes at least to Omnissa, it's not really integrated into Omnissa right now. So there is no automation yet. So you cannot run instant clones. You don't even have
pools. Not even those.
Power, power controls, automatically power on, power off, and so on. That's all not yet supported. So what we were running here was what we call a full clone. Similar like you can attach a physical PC and add it to a Horizon environment. So that is something you need to take into consideration, when we talk about our results in here. But to be fair, and that's what we want to, we didn't know the outcome of that one before as well, so we are a little bit shocked. So, but general takeaway of this one, it's worth a consideration. So the performance is not as bad as you would think it is. Think about what you really need from a VDI perspective. I don't need any, whatever new stuff that some hypervisors bring to you. We just need basic stuff like, we need to have CPU performance, memory performance, GPU performance need to be good. I/O, as we saw, is important, but not that important. And therefore, it's fair to consider.
Yes, like we said, we try to look only at the numbers. Do we have a long-standing vSphere history?
Yes, definitely.
We do. The question is, where do we want to go?
Yes. So, what is next? So we said we're gonna test again with multiple machines, and we want to test with a pass-through graphic cards in vSphere, and we just ordered new Intel graphic cards. Or actually, we already ordered them; they just arrived. So we will do a new webinar in end of May, roughly, and then you get new test results, with actual graphic card performance, and so even more comparable results. Because what is interesting, Intel vGPU is completely and fully supported on Proxmox. Interesting thing. And if you have attended the session in the last year of World of EUC, which was called Windows 11 Saga, A New Hope for IT, where we talk about application lifecycle management, which is still a very important thing.
Oh, yeah. We'll delve into that too.
We will have a new version of that one too coming in June. So coming to an end, Reinhard, is this really the end?
No, there is always another fight to fight. So we saw now Proxmox and vSphere in the ring. Hyper-V is coming, Nutanix. Let's see on what we stumble and rumble over again. And then we will see who we put to the test.
Exactly. And, they will all be tested in the same similar fashion to be comparable. And just simply stay tuned. And if there are now some questions, or we have, our wonderful Sean in here again. So, he will potentially summarize some questions.
He looks on the watch.
Unfortunately, we are at time. So, anybody who has questions, and there were a couple in the chat that were interesting, but if you had a question, unfortunately we can't get to it. But if you can hit up Jens and Reinhard, either they shared their LinkedIn information earlier, or you could hit them up in the platform chat. I think they've got a couple minutes before they have to head to dinner, being that they're in Austria. But yeah, if you guys want to just drop your contact info later, or we can post it with the recording. With that, I do want to thank you guys for coming. We are unfortunately going right into the next sponsor session. So with that,
greetings to Benny while I see him here. In the chat. Thanks, Benny.
So
like Benny said, as of our test setup, we did not collect each and every metric.
And thanks everyone for watching.
Guys,
enjoy what you see. Bye-bye.
And see you in real life.